Football is where we begin on the SportsMax zone. German champions Bayern Munich have sacked their manager, Julian Nagelsmann. According to Bild, one of Germany's leading daily, Bayern's board sacked the 35-year-old with immediate effect. Nagelsmann took charge of Bayern in 2021 and led them to their 10th Bundesliga title in a row last season. But this current campaign, despite a perfect record in the Champions League, Bayern, by their standards, are struggling in domestic competition, trailing Borussia Dortmund by a point in the standings and just 4 ahead of third-placed Union Berlin. The breaking news boss in the football world, Fabrizio Romano, was the first to report news of the moves by Bayern Munich. Official, confirmed, exclusive. FC Bayern are seriously considering to sack Julian Nagelsmann. Decision being discussed internally. The club could fire him soon. Salihamidzic, this was most difficult decision of my time as director. I have had open, trusting, friendly relationship with Julian. I really wish Nagelsmann all the best. I regret the separation. That's the Bayern director, Salihamidzic. And he explains why they fired Nagelsmann after thorough analysis of the sporting development of our team, especially since January, and with the experience of the second half of the previous season. We have now decided together to release Julian. Now official, Thomas Tuchel becomes new Bayern head coach on a contract valid until 2025. Hashtag FC Bayern. Tuchel will start this new chapter on Monday with first training session. Yeah, so that is the order of how things were reported by Fabrizio Romano. Lance, Mariah, what do you make of this story and the sacking of Nagelsmann and Thomas Tuchel set to come in as Bayern Munich head coach?
Right. So as I said at the top of the show, and this is a story that has so many different angles that you can look at it from. I think for me, firstly, I'd say that the timing of this sacking was a shocker. Not just for me, but for everybody that, follows Bayern Munich and, of course, are lovers of football. The timing especially because you, of course, outlined just now the success or the results that Julian Nagelsmann has had with Bayern Munich. And of course, we've known what he has built up as a coach, his reputation. So to have them in the Bundesliga second spot, just 1 point behind Borussia Dortmund, and of course to lose his job, then we have to remember as well, he's gotten them this far in the Champions League, the quarterfinals. I think the reasoning behind sacking him is because I want to think that the club believes that he doesn't have what it takes to maybe bring them Champions League glory. So they turned to a man like Thomas Tuchel, who was able to come into our Chelsea squad at a point in time where Chelsea was not winning any matches. They were looking extremely, extremely poor. He came into that squad and he was able to make them look like champions, make them feel like champions, and not just look and feel. They were able to walk away with the Champions League title. So I feel as if they thinking, what's happening around with the other clubs. They looked at Tottenham, Antonio Conte looks like he's going to be gone very soon. They're looking on at what's happening at Real Madrid. Once you don't achieve success with clubs like that, you have to go. So I think Bayern Munich, being the club that they are, decided to move forward before anybody else snapped up
Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah, Thomas Tuchel, knowing that he doesn't have a job right now. They decided to play a game of chess and take him first.
Yeah, just to pick up on one thing that you said before Lance comes in. Yes, Bayern Munich are second in the Bundesliga, just 1 point behind Dortmund. But that's not a position that they have become accustomed to over the last 10 years. In fact, the last time they had as few points as they do now at this stage of the season was the 2011-2012 campaign, which they ended up losing to Dortmund. So I'm very sure that the directors at Bayern Munich would have had a look at that as well. Completely agree with you that I think Bayern Munich would have looked at the overall picture, and the question they would have asked themselves, is this the man that can take us to where we want to be taken? And clearly, as you pointed out, the decision was made that no, this is not the man that can take us to where we want to go, Lance.
Yeah, the fact is that on the surface of it, you would suggest that while Bayern Munich are in a title-winning position domestically, you are right, Ricardo, that it is not a position that they're accustomed to. Many years in the past 10 years, which they have won consecutively the Bundesliga, by March heading into April, they would have already been sewing up the title or being in a beyond recall, you could call it. Last year, they won Bundesliga by 8 points. The year before that, by 13 points. The year before the year that they won by 13 points as well. So they are not doing poorly, but it is not Bayern Munich like where they are at the moment. Having said that, they have done all they've been asked to do so far in the UEFA Champions League. I think that this firing has a lot more to do with his relationship with some key people within the system and not the results itself, because they've dropped 10 points since the start of the year. They drew all their matches in January. They've lost 2 of their last 5 matches, and even though they beat Augsburg, who is a bottom half of the table team, they conceded 3 goals against them to win 5-3.
Yeah.
He fired the goalkeeping coach, who is Manuel Neuer's coach, a couple of months ago. And there are reports coming out of the Bayern Munich camp that his relationship with the players and strategies are being, at the moment, questioned by a lot of key people in the system. So, as Mariah pointed to, I think this is a proactive move by Bayern Munich. It's not that he's failing, but they are looking ahead to the future and looking where they want to be and looking where they're at the moment and seeing Tuchel, who is highly regarded, in a position that they can get him now. So I think that is the issue that faces Bayern Munich at the moment and why they have gone this route in sacking Nagelsmann. He's a very strong-headed individual. He is only 35 years old by coaching levels, regarded as a young coach. And when he replaced Hansi Flick a couple of years ago, he was seen as the future of German coaching. Yeah. So, but I know that he has a reputation of being strong-headed and wants to get his way all the time, which isn't uncharacteristic of successful coaches. But Bayern Munich making a move that at the outset had appeared shocking. But if you look beyond the headlines, it may not be as shocking as it appears.
And that's what I said, Lance, at the top of the show, that this is a move that I am actually embracing. Because I think when you are in positions of power, sometimes you are able to see ahead of you what is likely to happen, what could happen based on the trajectory, based on what is happening now. And what is very clear to me is that from a Bayern Munich standpoint, they are looking at a lot of the issues in recent weeks and in recent months. They are looking at the fact that essentially Nagelsmann has lost the dressing room based on the reports coming out. He's falling out with Manuel Neuer, as you just pointed out.
And we know the sort of colossal figure that Manuel Neuer is in not only Bayern Munich, but Germany. And so when you now start to look down the road, you have a massive Champions League quarter-final match coming up against Manchester City. And the last thing you want is for those internal issues to derail your ability to win this season's Champions League. Because clearly Bayern Munich will be thinking, we have the team capable of going on to win the Champions League, but we're also playing one of the favourites in the last 8. No, having said all of that, and you guys pointed out that Thomas Tuchel is free at this stage, and so it's a very good time to move towards him and get him into the setup. You never want to select a coach for any one team. You want to select a coach for an overall vision. There is no doubt that Thomas Tuchel has what it takes to lead a top-class club to European glory. And so from that standpoint, it would have been a win to go for Thomas Tuchel. But what would also be a win is Thomas Tuchel's record against Manchester City, especially during his most recent stint at Chelsea. I think won 3 matches in a row against Pep Guardiola, including the Champions League final. So I'm sure Bayern Munich would have looked at that and thought to themselves, well, if City is next
and that's going to be a massive challenge for us on our way to Champions League glory, then what better man to bring into the fold than Thomas Tuchel,
right,
who has proved that he can go head to head with Pep Guardiola. In fact, Pep Guardiola has said that, and I know coaches say this all the time, but when he said this, I thought he was genuine, that Thomas Tuchel is one of those coaches that he learns a lot from because of his creativity and just his overall understanding of the game and his tactics. So
yeah,
he is almost a perfect man for Bayern Munich to have gone for.
My only concern is, I don't like changes at particular points in the season. I feel as if, and I'm all for Thomas Tuchel too. My only concern is you come into now a new setup, a new dressing room at this particular point in the season, and he has proven that he can do it with Chelsea. But, there's always that, what if he comes in and things doesn't go the way we plan? What if he comes in now, Ricardo, and they don't win the Champions League, they don't go on to win the Bundesliga? Would that be a failed move in the middle of the season?
Well, it's a risk that Bayern Munich is taking, right? But here's the thing about getting someone like Thomas Tuchel in. This is an experienced coach who has been around Europe for a long time. There is no player at Bayern Munich right now that Thomas Tuchel is not going to know inside out. And so he lands into that job on Monday knowing exactly what he wants to do with every single player. And he's experienced enough to know how he's going to have the conversations with the individual players about how the team is going to move forward.
All right. Well, Julian Nagelsmann might head to Tottenham or Chelsea. Let's see.
After his skiing trip in Austria.
It was tackily done though, because apparently he was informed while he was on vacation and didn't know that this was coming. So that was quite unfortunate. But let's be honest, guys. He's 35 years old. He is a good coach. He is a talented coach. He's going to get another job somewhere. He's going to get a chance to prove himself. And who knows, in the future, Bayern will probably come back for them and he can charge them double. That's it for this segment. Stay with us. More to come on the SportsMax Zone.
Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.